This is a classic traction scene. A 60-year-old locomotive still in frontline service. One of the small class of 37s in the LRL fleet works at Daventry to East Midlands intermodal through Tamworth Low Level on the West Coast Main Line. In this second edition of VideoSim, we take a look at numerous LRL workings, including rail tour action, various loco moves, and intermodal traffic. Swankhat unveil newly restored 27037, as well as a look at steam workings. Diesel Gala action at the Ashborne Valley Railway, footage from June 2023 of the RHTT 5K Visitors Gala, locomotive profiles on GCR including Class 20 haulage, Class 68s on freight and passenger workings, and Class 455s around the network. A look at the Landfield North branch, including a rare test train visit. Timber traffic behind heritage locos. A reveal of LRL's newly restored 37906. And finally, a look at Britannia. Plus a look back 40 years to a time when first generation traction still dominated the mainline scene. Following the Shirebrook Open Day, 7203 was used to transport 73126, 91008, E3101 and 86246 on the very late 0 Zulu 03 Shirebrook to Old Dalby. Here we see the return journey of the Shirebrook or Bust Rail Tour, which saw 37428 and 37515 double heading through Beeston Station. On the 9th of August, 37683 and 37689 were reinstated to mainline traffic. Here the pair are seen with 37428 on the 5Q37 Derby to Derby test train. From the 16th of August, DRS hired in 37683 and 37689 to operate intermodal services from Daventry to East Midlands Gateway. 37689 kicked off the first run with the 4 Sierra 25 Daventry to East Midlands. And this is the return working, now running under 4 Mike 26, heading through Stafford. pair worked these trains up until the failure of 37689 on the 4th of September. The loco was then promptly replaced by 37359. On the 6th of September, a failed Class 66 led to the use of 37683 and 37359 on the 4 Sierra 44 Daventry to Moss End Tesco train. The pair arrive into York Station and await departure. The contract with DRS ended on the 27th of September, and both 37s were returned to LRL shortly after. LRL managed to gain the contract for a new RHTT diagram based at Norwich. Here 37229 hauls an RHTT set on the 3 Zulu 29 York Frau Europa to Norwich Jubilee sidings. "37515 was one of 3 allocated locos to the RHTT pool and runs light on the 0 Zulu 37 Shirebrook to Norwich. "37683 was another loco based in the pool, and on the 14th of September the loco ran a route learning run from Norwich to Norwich via the Wherry lines. Now the loco passes Lingwood en route to Great Yarmouth. the loco arrives into Acle to await an oncoming passenger train. Our final view of 683 sees the loco pass the camera with plenty of tones and thrash. On Tuesday the 25th of July 2023, the Swankhat Railway, which runs from Milford-on-Sea to Wellow, celebrated the reveal of a Class 27 diesel locomotive which has been in restoration for a number of years, number D5389 27037. Here the locomotive is seen on light engine working through Hordle, heading towards Milford-on-Sea Yard. Class 27 was not running public trains on this day due to being under test. However, a steam service was in operation, taken by 3406-217 Squadron. She is seen here departing Milford-on-Sea with a train bound for Wellow. Here we see 34062 again, this time heading tender first towards Milford-on-Sea. Operating under head code 5 Bravo 89, the 27 is seen departing Milford-on-Sea Yard for Hordle Junction. The 27 will then collect a variety of coaching stock for some haulage tests. Finishing off, 27037 is seen working an ECS move to Milford-on-Sea. On the 8th of July 2023, the Ashborne Valley Railway had itself a diesel running weekend, and one of the main attractions of the event was D5583 Stratford Major Depot, which had recently came out of overhaul and was running its first public trains at the event. Here the locomotive is seen passing Millers Green Depot. D5583 is a Class 31 diesel locomotive, which were also known as the Brush Type 2. Here the locomotive is seen again just outside of Millers Green with a train for Hopton. Godfrey Hole is great for country walks, with its small tranquil halt in the middle of the countryside. Here the locomotive is seen passing through with a train for Millers Green. Note the headboard, British Locomotive Studios, after the Train Simulator development team. Finally, the 31 is seen departing Carsington with a train for Hopton. On the 29th and the 30th of July 2023, the Ashborne Valley Railway held their summer diesel gala event. This particular footage is taken from the 29th of July on the Saturday, with D1016, a Western diesel locomotive, at Godfrey Hole coming off the speed restriction. The Ashborne Valley Railway's Summer Diesel Gala is a very popular event featuring visiting diesel locomotives, one of which can be seen here in the form of LRL's Class 70 7203 Meliora. The Class 70 is seen again at the same location of Millers Green on its return trip. Another visitor to the event is Elam Valley Railway's Class 31 diesel locomotive 31155. Here it is seen departing Middleton with a train bound for Carsington with D5583. The pair of 31s are seen again departing Hopton with a train bound for Miller's Green. A demonstration goods service was also in operation at this event, as seen behind 37670 as it rounds the curve off of Godfrey Hole Viaduct. And now, the 1016 Western Gladiator is seen passing through Middleton with the demonstration freight service. And now, departing Middleton, is the railway's resident Class 37 37718 with a train for Carsington. The Class 377 subclass was intended primarily for heavy freight work, with extra ballast and modified gearing. 37718 is seen here at Godfrey Hull, coming off the speed restriction at the viaduct. The characteristic headboards on 37718 at Miller's Green is to commemorate the upcoming Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials. Here the locomotive is seen departing the station with a train for Carsington. There was no hanging around for 37718 after a late departure from Miller's Green, seen here passing through the S-Bend towards Carsington. Chromatic tractors in action as we see 37417 and 37411 depart Middleton for Gauzy Bank with the evening BRX train. 37002 can be seen on the rear. Two more visiting engines were at the event in the form of Class 73s. Sadly, they failed on the Saturday morning. Finally, we see a clip of 37417 and 37411 battling up Gauzy Bank with the BRX train. On the 3rd and the 4th of June 2023, the Roblox, Romney, Hythe and Dymchurch Railway celebrated their 5K Visitors Gala event. Here, Northern Chief is seen passing through New Romney Station on an express service to Hythe. The event contained 2 visiting locomotives, one of which, Sheila, seen here approaching New Romney Station. Romney's resident diesel locomotive number 14, Captain Howie, leads the train to Dungeness. The star guest of the event is number 16 Marilyn, seen here departing Dymchurch with a train bound for New Romney. Number 8 Hurricane was heavily used at the event, seen here at the RHTT's terminus station Hythe, with Typhoon. Number 8 is seen again departing New Romney with a train bound for Hythe. Number 6 Samsung is quite a favourite for enthusiasts, being preserved in its SDJR Prussian blue livery. Here she is seen approaching New Romney with Northern Chief. Now back at Hythe, Marilyn is seen departing with a train bound for New Romney. As Marilyn leaves the boundaries of Hythe, another train approaches. Stand back, there's a hurricane coming through. Hythe's overall route is just a reminder of how glorious the station really is. Hurricane is seen running round its train. This will then head to the turntable, where it shall be turned for the next scheduled run. Typhoon spent a majority of its time running tender first. She is seen here running an express service through Dymchurch en route to Dungeness. Skipping forward in time to the 4th of June, Typhoon is seen again approaching New Romney from Dungeness. Now Typhoon is seen departing Dymchurch with Sheila on the rear with a train for Hythe. The Romney Galas are also known for their more unusual workings. Here is a triple header led by Southern Maid towards Dungeness. A quadruple header now, led by Hurricane towards Hythe. This is the start of the final loadex train, which was recorded on the 4th of June. The final stopping passenger service now departs Hythe, led by number 16 Marilyn. Finishing off our trip to the Romney, Hythe and Dymchurch Railway are 5 locomotives working hard on the Locomotive loadex train, led by Hurricane. Class 20s can occasionally be seen around the Grand Continental Railway's network. Here, HBRF Class 20s 2401 and 2402 are seen on a route learning run through Slatewell. (2401) and 2402 are based at Hesticombe Workshop and are unique in the sense that they are permanently coupled together at the nose. This enables the driver to drive the locomotives cab first rather than nose first, which has limited visibility. These Class 20s are also fitted with a bell for yard duties. The two Class 20s are now ready to depart Fartherwell to Hesticombe, where they shall be put to bed. The two Class 20s were also seen on the 13th of July through Cellarcroft, with a unit drag bound for Saltmarsh. Locomotive Rail Leasing purchased 2304 from Direct Rail Services. It is seen here at Giles Mount on the 12th of July 2023, doing light engine test moves. Skipping forward in time to the 24th of July, 2304 was hired out to Saltmarsh Rail Services for the Newington scrap run. Here the locomotive is seen passing through Landfield with a group of Mark III coaches. After a quick stop at Barcy to allow passing of a passenger train, 2304 departs south towards Saltmarsh. Approaching closer to its final destination, 2304 is seen passing through Newington town. On the 26th to the 28th of July 2023, Pathfinder Tours hired in 2304 and 2118 for enthusiast specials along the Ashcott branch. Here at Minestow, the two Class 20s head towards Baxton. Class 20s were built by English Electric between 1957 and 1968. A total of 228 locomotives were produced, the large number being in part because of the failure of other early designs in the same power range to provide reliable locomotives. They are known by railway enthusiasts as choppers. With 2118 leading, the two Class 20s power through Cellarcroft up towards Hesticombe. To finish off, a shot at Hesticombe as the two 20s pass over the bridge on their way to St Ashcott. The Class 68 is a type of mainline mixed-traffic diesel-electric locomotive manufactured by Stadler Rail for direct rail services in the United Kingdom. The design is derived from the Stadler Eurolight, and Stadler's product name for this variant is the UK Light. Multiple Class 68s can be seen on the GCR network on freight and passenger duties. 68025 is seen standing in for a failed Class 66 with a fuel train bound for the Baxton Fuel Terminal. Now at Gothland, 68008 is seen on auto ballasters bound for Fatherwell. The Premier Express can be seen quite often on the GCR network, taken here by 68029 with a train bound for Falkingham. At the same location of Giles Mount, 68009 is seen heading through the station with some empty KUA wagons. Finishing off, 68016 is seen passing through Minestow with a short goods train. Class 455s have recently become regulars for commuter traffic on the GCR network. 455-850 is seen here arriving in Bestbridge with a train bound for Giles Mount. The South West Trains Class 455s operate from Fatherwell to Renford Central via Giles Mount, and are often seen paired up with Class 456s. Four 455-850 is seen again, this time at Barcy, en route towards Giles. Arriving into its terminus at Renford Central is 455864 with 455860 on the rear. With 455860 now leading, the train departs with the 1515 Fatherwell service via Giles Mount. En route to Fatherwell, 455872 halts its train into Goughlin with two Class 456s on the rear. Moments later, 455854 is seen on the fast line heading an ECS for Bestbridge carriage sidings. The Southern Railway operate Class 455s between Newington Marine Terminal, Giles Mount and Seaforth. Here, 455808 is seen arriving into Saltmarsh. Moving to further down the line, 455808 is seen again at Newington Harbour on the 27th of September 2023. Finally, 455808 is seen departing Seaforth with a train for Giles. The 2-mile Landfield North branch starts at Landfield and runs through New Beckhurst, running parallel with the Goughlin tram network to the terminus at Landfield North. It was once part of the GCR mainline, connecting Landfield to Goughlin. The primary source of motive power for the branch are Class 456s operated by South West Trains. Here 456024 arrives into Giles Mount with an afternoon service. A view from New Beckhurst tram stop now as we see 456024 rounding the curve with a train for Landfield North. During peak times there are 2 diagrams up the Landfield North branch, however during off-peak times there is only a single service. 456024 now departs New Beckhurst for Landfield North. After changing ends at Landfield North, 456024 now departs the 14:45 service to Giles Mount. It is worth noting that there is a strict 15-mile-an-hour limit over the crossing due to it not being gated. Now we see a rarity at Landfield North, with Class 19, number 19001, operating a HBRF test train. Class 19 is an experimental locomotive that was constructed using a Mark III DVT. The locomotive is part of a project funded by the Rail Safety and Standards Board to test the viability of combining hydrostatic transmission with a form of regenerative braking that can reduce engine emissions. Today it is owned by HBRF and can be seen departing Landfield North for HW. On the 27th of July, LRL revealed the newly restored 37906 to the world. The slug was purchased from UKRL along with 37905 earlier in the year. The 6 Class 37.9s were modified from Class 37 noughts in the late 1980s. 4 of them were fitted with the Merley's MB275T, while the rest, 37905 and 37906, were fitted with the Ruston RK27T. Not long after emerging from the sheds, 37906 is started up publicly for the first time since around 2013. After warming up, the loco runs a short test run around the yard. LRL's plans to register 37906 on the main line were successful, and the loco has joined 37428 and 2304 on the active LRL roster. For the 2023 RHTT season, LRL were granted the contract to work the RSA40 circuit from Renford to Seaforth and then through to Ashcott. Here 37906 heads through Sellercroft on the 0 Zulu 28 Hestercombe Works to York Thrale Europa. This run was booked for 37428, however the loco suffered GSMR issues shortly before and 37906 was drafted in. After gaining a green signal, the Ruston departs Goughlin. Later that night, the loco returned with an RHTT set on the 0 Zulu 29 York Thrale to Renford Yard sidings. The train is now seen 15 minutes later thrashing through Bexley Junction Station. Class 395s now dominate high-speed passenger services in and around Goughlin. However, this hasn't always been the case. Coming up next is rare footage taken in 1954 of D16/2 number 10202 with a high-speed passenger service, probably originating from Giles. The line from Renford carries a vast amount of freight bound for Mainstow. This diverges to the west at Bexley, then passes through Goughlin before heading north to Mainstow. We now sample traffic on a typical weekday in early autumn. The early morning normally sees a GBRF operated oil train originating from the Baxton terminal. In place of the normal Class 66 is 69007 Richard Trevithick. Now we see one of many early morning passenger trains operating the 8:30 service from Giles Mount to Renford, operated by Class 158. WCRC 57001 was employed on the 6 Zulu 55 movement of JYA wagons from Mindstone. This is a relatively rare move. The 57 is followed by 66779 and 73109 top and tailing the 1 Zulu 66 rail tour bound for Renford. Speeding past the rail tour is 68018 on the Premier Express for Giles. Giving some characteristic tones as it departs Bexley Junction in Platform 4 is 456017 with an early morning suburban service from Goughlin to Renford. Following repairs on 37428, the loco is seen accelerating through Bexley with the 0 Zulu 28 Hesticombe Works to Renford Yard sidings. This is in readiness for the LRL operated RHTTs. Flying through Platform 4 is the Premier Express. Finally, an afternoon service taken by 2 Class 455 EMUs from Giles to Renford. The GCR timber traffic is handled by Colas Rail, who normally associate a 56 for the run to Baxton Logging Terminal. However, on this occasion, Colas Rail utilised Network Rail 97303 and 97302 on the 6 Charlie 54 Chirk Chronospan to Baxton Log Terminal. The two locos seen here, numbered 97303 and 97302, are modernised Class 37s, with 97303 being converted from 37178 and 97302 converted from 37170. The overhaul was completed by Harry Needle at Barrow Hill in 2008. Of the 4 locos overhauled, 3 of them are still in operation, with 97301 being withdrawn from service in 2018, awaiting an overhaul which sadly never came to be, and the loco is now in store, having had its power unit removed. After a staffing stop, the train now departs Fatherwell. Six Charlie 54 is a runs as required service which runs roughly once every couple of months. As mentioned, the normal motive power is a Colas Class 56, although this is not the first time the tractors have appeared on this run. The train diverges onto the Logging branch at Minestow Junction. Currently this line is little used, however, future plans will see that the line is used much more often. The train approaches the stop board protecting the manually gated crossing. This is the entrance to the terminal. On the 26th of September, the usual motive power, in this case being 56078, hauls the loaded train plus the two 97s on the 6 Charlie 55 Baxton Log Terminal to Chirk. Seen here exiting the branch at Minestow. Our final view of the timber train sees the 56 departing Giles Mount bound for Chirk. In late July, Pathfinder ran the Seaforth Seasider from Giles to Seaforth and back. LRL motive power 37428 and 2304 were in charge of top and tailing the 5 Zulu 37 ECS from Saltmarsh TMD. At 15:30 the train departs, now on the 1 Zulu 57 with 2304 leading. This was one of 2304's first commercial runs with LRL. After reversing at Seaforth, 37428 leads the train back to Giles Mount. On the 24th of June, RRL and HBRF operated the Maisie-Dale Charter out of Giles. Leading is RRL 37670 and 37671. After being housed at HW following a rail tour, 35028 Clan Line and 47593 Galloway Princess return home on the 0 Mike 35 Hestercombe to Leafminster. The pair briefly stop here at Sellercroft for a crew change. EMD-engined HBRF 37859 exits Giles on a route learner service. Shortly after, 43007 and 43008 depart on the cross-country HST farewell tour bound for Chelston. During the summer, 70,000 Britannia was out and about. Here the tour departs Fatherwell, its destination, Ashcott. On the rear, and now leading the train from Renford, is SRS 73002, which has recently just returned to traffic following a long restoration. Our final clip of the tour sees 73002 on the fast line through Moorsfoot heading towards St Ashcart. We now look at a number of scenes taken from 1988 to 1990, showing how the motive power scene was very different. Here at Leeds, 47123 is seen departing with a train for Manchester. The date is 1985. In these scenes, the Class 40s were reaching the very end of their lives. 40054 is seen here departing Leeds with a morning tanker service. Suburban services were primarily taken by first-gen DMUs. Here a Class 101 approaches Leeds in the Bay platform. Class 45 peaks are the primary source of motive power for the Northern Transpennine route. Here the peak is seen approaching Leeds with a train from Manchester Piccadilly. British Rail Class 45, or Salzer Type 4, are diesel locomotives built by British Railways Derby and Crewe Works between 1960 and 1962. Along with the similar Class 44 and 46 locomotives, they all became known as peaks. The Class 45 is unusual in having a 220-volt electrical system for driving auxiliary systems and battery charging. Most British Railways diesels of the same era had 110-volt auxiliaries. Shortly after the arrival of 45133, the Class 101 now departs out of the Bay platform for Huddersfield. On the 3rd of August 1988 at Dewsbury, we see 47311 Warrington Yard departing with a train for Leeds. In the opposite direction, 45110 flies through Dewsbury with a train for Manchester. Class 45s replaced Class 40s on tanker trains, as seen here with 45118 heading through Dewsbury. Now over to Huddersfield in September 1989, as we see 101176 with a train for Leeds. Now a rarity at Huddersfield Station, as we see 47540 shunting in the sidings just opposite. The date is the 16th of September. while 47540 waits for pathing, 47363 Billingham Enterprise heads through with a tanker train. .47540 now gets the off into the sidings to collect 3 vans for Huddersfield reception sidings. Now connected, the 47 leaves for the reception sidings. Now at Manchester on the 17th of December 1984, 40044 is seen leaving Manchester for Leeds. This is approximately 4 years before the 40s were withdrawn from service. Finishing off, 101-305 is seen heading into Manchester with an evening rush hour service from Leeds. The 101 is now seen departing Manchester with an ECS for Holbeck. These scenes really do capture the sights and sounds of the diesel glory days, which are now long gone. keep an eye out for the next issue of VideoSim, where we witness the return of Wigston rail services operating Class 20s in and around the East Coast Main Line. See steam locomotives in action on Britain's main lines. Diesel rail tours on GCR with Class 33 haulage. LRL railhead treatment train services with Class 37s, and much more.